You are a Madison Avenue ad executive who just landed a big account. What's your pitch? Something conservative that won't offend the flyover states? Or something edgy to disrupt the market? How will people react? Will they love the product or vilify the ad campaign? This is the Mount Rushmore of who's the ad wizard who came up with that? My name's Jeff, and I'm joined as always by my good friends Richard.
Hello.
And Michael. Richard and Michael, they like to debate and deliberate the Mount Rushmore.
Mount Russian.
God.
We have been bought and sold by the Russians.
Vladimir Putin has paid me very many rubles to plug him in this podcast.
Is that Count Chocula?
It was Chocula-esque.
Ukraine make this stuff up.
Yeah, Ukraine make this up. This is the Mount Rushmore of who's the ad wizard who came up with that. And I'm here with Michael and Richard, who love to debate and deliberate the Mount Rushmore of any given topic, and that's this week's topic. Richard, you thought of it.
I did think of it.
Why did you think of it?
Oh, you want to know that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I think that.
Why did you come up with this?
Well, who's the ad wizard?
Yeah.
I think I must have. You know what? There was a very specific. I think this came up in a conversation that we had, Michael and I, over Gmail
He's
chat.
distancing himself from ownership of it.
It's okay. Always the best.
Yeah.
And I think we were discussing a really insane ad campaign. I don't remember which one it was, but I think that phrase got used, and it was sort of a light bulb moment. Like,
okay,
hey, this could be a good topic.
Cool. Well, you and Michael discussed it, and Facebook discussed it when we posted to our page, or to my page, the Mount Rushmore of, hey, share us your craziest ad ideas. And there was a big amount of audience feedback about it, so I'm super excited to throw that stuff into the mix. But since Richard chose it, Michael gets to start first.
So my first choice is back in 2014. The brain boxes over at Apple teamed up with mega rock stars U2 to force release their new album, Songs of Innocence, to everybody that had an iPhone, a Mac, anybody that basically had an Apple product. They just kind of pushed.
Did it get sent to my Apple IIe?
I think it did.
Just very slowly. It's still downloading.
My Newton.
They pushed this album out to everybody, whether they wanted it or not, whether they were a U2 fan or not. And the blowback to it was amazing. Mm-hmm. It was just like nobody wanted suddenly, 82 megs of U2 sounds on their phone. And for me, I didn't really have an issue with it. I kind of like U2. I've liked a lot of their music in the past. And hey, a new free album, who cares? But for the people that ride the edge of how much phone storage they have, that suddenly 82 megs was just disappeared, I think a lot of people were upset.
Yeah. Did it come out in iPods too? I feel like I just saw a thing. They ended the iPod. Apple ended the iPod line, and there was something of an apology for sticking U2 on it.
I think the idea that it was just there. I think you could delete it.
Yeah.
But people don't want things that they don't want.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very astute point.
Now, was that in that case, advertising? I feel like people were buying that it didn't seem like that was a product enhancement for that. That was a device that was selling so well, and we're a company that was trying to get out of the gadget business and into the entertainment business.
Well, I think, iTunes was such a big push. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if this is when Apple Music was starting, but maybe it was a few years before that.
Yeah.
But, so much of their product has been built around music since the iPod came out.
Yeah.
And I think this is one of those things where, people just think, hey, everybody likes U2. Hey, everybody likes Apple.
Yeah.
Why don't we just give it to them for free?
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of backfired.
Yeah.
Do you think it would have, if it would have been one of those like, click here to have it click here to have it manually downloaded to your iTunes or whatever it was? Do you think that would have been a totally different scenario?
Yes, 100%. If you could just say, press one button and you get a free U2 album, I think their thing was they were pushing it as like the biggest release of an album in history. Because, these bands like U2, which are mega bands that have been popular for 40 years, and Apple, you have to do things at the top. It has to be the biggest. It has to be the best. Their tours have to be bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
And so, what's bigger than than the biggest album release in history of 500 million people suddenly having a U2 album? It's 450 million of them being like, "Fuck you."
Yeah.
I had a T-Mobile LG flip phone at some point in like 2007 or 8, and on there I had a screensaver for like some teen girl movie. I don't know what it was. It was like 13 going on 30 or fill in the blank, whatever it was. I can't remember what it was, but I could not remove the JPEG image.
And
from my
that's
phone.
his story.
It was embedded within this crappy flip phone that I had, which made me realize later, oh, well, I bought a girl's flip phone.
Yeah.
I should have known because it had like changeable covers in like teal and like a dark red, like a berry. It was a really nice berry color.
Yeah.
And the fact that I couldn't get rid of this thing was like, it was infuriating because it didn't take up much space, but it took up enough that I didn't have control over my phone.
Yeah.
And I think this is just a bigger version of that.
It's like an early version of your technology is trying to take over you have no security. You have no privacy.
Yeah.
And that was like an early version of that, right? Like you have no agency in whether or not you want this album. Like the damn thing was just there.
Mm-hmm.
It's very much kind of like, if you feel like something Facebook would try to pull now and everyone would get up in arms about privacy.
Yeah. I think Apple has set the standard for a one-way relationship with the market. They don't do pre-awareness that much on products. They don't ask people what they want. They launch a product, and it turns out to be many times what people want. And then I think they're also known for great advertising. I think of all the ad campaigns that were mimicked by other ad campaigns, or that you could remember that early iPod campaign where it was kind of silhouetted people dancing against a background.
They're very good at finding like one song to pair with a commercial for 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Like I'm thinking of like Feist's 1, 2, 3, 4, or
that Air.
Brian Setzer didn't they have that? That's Gap. Never mind.
Yeah, they did Picture Book by the Kinks.
Yeah.
And there's like a few songs that they're just like, obviously to roll out some sort of photo project of theirs or their camera on something. But like they're so good at pairing those two that, pair it with U2, big band, huge band. It was just the unfortunate, ad wizard that was like, everybody just gets it.
Yeah.
Let's not even make it an option. Just everybody's going to love this. Everybody's just going to everybody loves U2. Why not?
You're welcome, everyone.
Yeah.
Which is the equivalent of shipping a technology product with a virus on it. If you don't want it, then it is a virus that you can't delete.
It's musical bloatware, basically.
Manfredi, what do you got?
All right. So in 2017, Pepsi decided they wanted to have their own I'd like to teach the world to sing type moment. And they decided to get into the cultural zeitgeist by having Kylie Jenner personally solve any sort of social justice issues by giving a cop a Pepsi.
Yeah, this was awful.
Oh,
Super Bowl commercial, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was just such a terrible, misguided idea. It's the amazing part is that now the ad wizards are actually the in-house Pepsi creative team. So this is not something that came from a outside agency that got pitched to them and they kind of went, oh yeah, we'll give it a try and see how it goes. No, this was something that came internally. So there's no one else to blame but this in terms of from the ad wizard perspective. If you guys remember it, Kylie Jenner's out shooting some photos, as one does, I guess. And she sees a protest starting to happen. So being the intrepid junior reporter that she is, she decides to head over there and start taking photos. And there's a line of cops there, kind of set up almost like a riot squad. Yeah. And she decides to break through the line and go up to the cop and give him a Coke.
A Pepsi.
Or Pepsi, sorry. See, it didn't even work for me.
Yeah.
And suddenly everything was all better.
Yeah.
And needless to say, this was kind of seen as trying to profit off of the Black Lives Movement and the Me Too movement and the Women's March and all this social justice and activation that was happening around 2017. And it just came off like the most
Yeah.
misguided attempt to try and be culturally relevant,
Mm-hmm.
and it just died on the vine.
Do you think this would have worked in another era? Like if this was Vietnam and there were students protesting and
Yeah, in Kent State, I can see that the guy's getting ready to shoot a student, and someone comes up with him to him with like a tap.
yeah.
This was definitely the wrong time to try to, because there were major protests that were happening, protesting Trump or the Trump administration, I assume.
Yes,
and his racist policies. I believe the major protests that were going on were, if this was for that Super Bowl, then it must have been like all those airport protests about the change to migration.
I think the Black Lives Matter protests were also happening right around that time.
And the Women's March?
Yeah.
Right around then. Mm-hmm. So like there were super major important issues, and it felt like it was branding them into Pepsi. It was like none of these people wanted to be affiliated with necessarily with Pepsi or anybody other than what they're affiliated with, which is, stopping the oppression and the horrible policies.
And it made it seem like the people who were protesting weren't really protesting anything other than they were just sort of angry.
Yeah,
but you could make them happy by giving them a Pepsi.
Yeah.
I do wonder, I haven't seen this commercial in forever. I wonder what the protest sign said, or if it was just like generic people holding up signs that say no. Or
I am
stop.
angry. Yeah.
Yeah.
It does seem to.
Angry. Richard, you just carry that one around all the time.
I do.
You just have it in the back of your car, just standing out on the corner.
You never know when you might need it.
The white privilege that is flaunted in that as well is just egregious.
And it was seen as this big black mark against millennials, which I'm not a millennial basher. They're trying to collectively, us and older generations have fucked things up so badly for millennials. Whatever they're trying to do to get by, that's fine. But I know it was seen as sort of like this indictment of the millennial culture.
I do wonder if having a positive for a company that is nearly 100 years old and has dyed-in-the-wool consumers and a diversified product assortment. Does Pepsi care?
What a company, man. We have a diversified product assortment.
Pepsi owns so many different brands. Does it care whether you come away with a good impression of the company, or does it just want you to remember its traditional media advertising? Because now everything is online.
I don't know. With a company like Pepsi, I've never really liked their campaigns. They've always been antagonistic in a way that I don't like. The way that Apple campaigns used to be before they became the number one.
Yeah.
Like whoever is number 2 to number 1, there's always this air of like punching, like they're trying to punch up by punching down.
Yeah.
And Pepsi's were always like, the choice of the new generation. Mm-hmm. I remember their commercials from the 80s were all about rejecting Coke.
Yeah.
And it was just like, and Apple products were like that.
Negative advertising.
Negative advertising that I've just never, I just dislike it. It's like either sell your product and people will like it, or like, I hate taste test commercials. I hate all of those.
Yeah.
Whatever it is that Pepsi's been doing for forever as being the number 2. And they've remained number 2.
Yeah. Okay. What do you got, Winfield?
Well, I'm going to move one up from the other half of my, the other side of halftime to pair with Richard's.
Oh, okay.
Pepsi choice, which is Coca-Cola's Magic Cans from 1990.
Oh.
I don't remember these.
For good reason. Coca-Cola decided that in random cans, they would have a random assortment of cash from $1 to $500. Sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
That you'd open the can, and there would be money inside. Now, part of the problem is that they had to offset like the weight of the cans, which felt different with the money inside, by filling them with water.
Oh.
And also like a little compartment with water. And then part of the problem was there was a special solution in there as well that was designed to smell funny so that you wouldn't actually drink the cans that had the money in it.
What the heck?
And guess who drank some of those solutions? Like kids.
Kids, yeah.
Oh, God.
So they eventually had to pull all of their cans that had this money in them, and something like 120,000 of the 750,000 cans. Only 120, so like a quarter of it or a third of it were only ever distributed.
Wow.
But yeah, $4 million in cash that they had put out was basically wasted. And
I never heard of these things.
Yeah, I'm sure that they had to settle for some of these people and pay out. But it's just one of those things that, like, giving away free money. It's one of those things, I guess part of my product so far is giving away things for free, but not thinking it through, or not thinking all the ways that it could go wrong. Like, kind of poisoning people.
So I have to observe that you are not just talking about necessarily an advertisement itself, but a marketing ploy. So these are marketing. So you haven't said in the commercial blank was the spokesperson or blank was in the ad campaign. But you're talking about the kind of the product.
I guess so.
Marketing plan.
Yeah, I guess because that's someone had decided that this is a way to market Coca-Cola by just putting money in it.
Yeah.
That's how you know that Coca-Cola has a lot of money. They're just stuffing money into their Coke cans.
$1 doesn't seem like that much of an incentive. Like, if I was really thirsty and I opened a Coke can and all I got was like $1,
you'd have to go buy another Coke.
Then I have to go buy another Coke that's probably going to cost, back in 1990, 75 cents? So I'm making a quarter profit off of this, and I got all the hassle of having to buy a new Coke. This doesn't matter. No, it doesn't add up.
My peeve about any beverage you now get is you twist off, suppose the twist off caps. You twist off the cap, and I don't know why, but you look in the bottom of the cap, and it always says, "Sorry, you lose." Like, I didn't know I was playing anything, but I lost the soda.
That's literally life, isn't it, though?
Sorry, you lose.
The most disappointing ones are, like you said, you used to twist it off and said, you win a jet ski.
Yeah.
Great. When the ones where you twist it off and it's like, go online to enter this code. Nope, I am done.
And it's always like a 15-letter code that just
XJY dash 21B, and you're just like, there is no way in hell I'm giving you an email, because it's you have to sign up with an email address.
And that's how they wind up sending you the U2 album.
Yeah.
That's how they get
I
you.
didn't want it. Manfredi.
All right. So in 2015, Bloomingdale's put out their Christmas catalog.
Okay.
One of the little ad sort of things that was in the Christmas catalog was, I will describe this to you the best way I can. Please look it up on your own. It was an attractive female in kind of business outfit or whatever, kind of looking away and laughing. Picture her looking off to the side with like a nice laugh on her face. And next to her is this Robin Thicke looking male model type, kind of just sort of glancing at her, kind of like with a kind of mysterious look on his face. And the ad tag, the ad line here, the tagline is, "Spike your best friend's eggnog when they're not looking."
Oh, God.
Yes.
Wow.
This was 2015. This wasn't 1957.
No.
Or 1962.
Mm-hmm.
What was that? What was the
Bloomingdale's?
Bloomingdale's.
Okay.
Who you'd think would know better. Yeah, basically it was rape your best friend.
Wow.
And I do marketing for a living. I don't really do advertising, so I'm not going to claim to be too much of an expert here.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure when you're invoking rape in your ad campaign.
Wait, why did you go from spiking a beverage to rape?
Did I think why else would you spike someone's beverage?
Just so they could maybe whatever alcohol does to anybody.
Look at the photo again. Look at how he's looking at her. That is 100% like date rape sort of thing.
It does look skeevy.
It is skeevy. I mean, I think that any female who is listening to this podcast, and God knows there probably aren't any, probably chased him off at this point. But our wives probably would look at that and be terrified. By that, but just the whole concept of that, because that's something they have to deal with every time they go out to a bar, especially if they're not with us.
But it says he's her friend, right?
Doesn't matter.
Yeah. Okay.
Friends, quote unquote best friends, can be gross too.
Okay.
God, that's for sure. Looking around this table.
Yeah, no kidding. This is the one that I stumbled across. Like, I almost didn't include it because I was just like, I don't know what I can say about it. I just don't understand really how this got past.
Yeah.
You know what it
base.
is?
Pardon the pun.
Here it is. It's a Bloomingdale's ad. It's class. It is these people, these rich people.
Yeah.
They don't care. They get drunk all the time. They spike each other's whatever. They go off to those masked parties like Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman and
Eyes Wide Shut.
Eyes Wide Shut. That is the world they live in.
Yeah.
And
Understood.
As far as I know, that's true. Yeah.
you just don't understand.
That does seem to presage the age of Donald Trump and this kind of Kavanaugh.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so we are, I think, at our halftime now. All right, so I want to tease a few of the suggestions just because I think you guys are likely to choose something different. Our buddy Anderson Dadu said the print ad for the 1963 Mercury Monterey was pretty wild. I almost bought one a few years back and found it. So,
Please describe.
yeah, that's Anderson, send it in. I haven't found that print ad. Then there was some kind of general big ad campaigns you guys might have gone around because you thought they might be kind of too ubiquitous. Did anybody choose the Where's the Beef?
No, I
Campaign?
did not. I have an adjacent one. But
Oh,
not that one.
a beef adjacent. Okay,
Yeah,
well,
just beef
that was
adjacent.
Vance Savage, which is a fabulous name.
Vance Savage.
That's probably could describe the person in that photo, that
the
gentleman.
The spike in the eggnog there. It's
Yeah.
definitely Vance Savage.
Yeah, and three people, more than one person, chose a campaign that I think at the time was not necessarily unusual or ill-advised, but that time has not been kind to the AIDS candy or AIDS diet candy supplement, the weight loss supplement.
Right. That's just an unfortunate.
Yes. I think that's a way in which time has reframed our perception of something. So Ken Stewart, a buddy of mine, also chose the Where's the Beef. And Ken Stewart was a powerhouse in terms of suggesting a lot of these things. So that was very much appreciated. Speaking of advertising, let's advertise the Mount Rushmore podcast. Let's advertise not just the episode that you're listening to, but those back episodes. Go back in time and listen to the thoughts, the whimsies of Manfredi Richard and Winfield Michael as judged by Hopkins Jeffrey. There's 2 years worth, nearly 200 episodes worth, and we'd love for you to go back in time and rate and review. Here's what's going to make that easy. We've downloaded them onto your device. We've pushed them to your Newton, to your iMac, to all your Apple devices, and you have no choice but to listen to them. But do us a favor and rate it, and do us another solid and share it. That would be super cool, super cool. And I want to let you know that our next episode is going to be the Mount Rushmore of DEATH, right? Mount Rushmore of
It's our
Death.
Yeah.
spooky Halloween.
Yeah. It's our Halloween episode.
It's coming
So-
out on Halloween, so don't go out trick-or-treating
No.
with your kids.
Stan.
Listen to 47 minutes of, I assume,
Yeah.
we'll try to get it to 47 minutes
Yeah.
of death.
Yes, death. So want to thank the people who contributed to this podcast. Want to thank people who are going to download, rate, and review. And I want to thank those who have at times and hopefully will go to our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram and follow, and then suggest future topics. We'll take it on. You suggest a topic, and boy, howdy, we need some ideas. So we would likely take that idea on.
Especially in the new year.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We're winding down 2019.
Yeah.
How about some good
Yeah.
good
We don't-
suggestions
yeah.
for 2020?
We don't want the death episode to be the death of the podcast, or let it be. So there's those plugs. There's those plugs, and then Richard tells us his third.
No, Michael does.
Oh, sorry, that's bad. It was wrong. False advertising.
I'm complaining to the FTC about you.
So now it's we're back from halftime, and now Michael tells us his third.
Okay. Well, Richard, I have a guess that Richard and I might have the same one.
Oh,
Okay.
Well, because you mentioned Where's the Beef, and Richard says his was Beef Adjace.
Right.
1984, McDonald's Olympic
Nope.
campaign.
So that's a
Oh,
good one. Although
okay.
that's a very good one.
I realize as now I'm looking down all of my stuff, it's all free shit. all of my advertising, all of the things that I think are crazy is when they try to give something away for free.
Yeah.
And McDonald's did the same
They
thing
bid
in
'em.
1984 when they
It was
decided
you win, they win, I believe was what it was. Or they win, you win. That's what
Okay.
it was called.
where McDonald's was going to give away like free fries or free soda or free Big Mac or something. Every time a U.S. Olympian won a medal, a bronze, silver, or gold.
Yeah.
And they based a lot of their decision off of like the 1976 Olympics where the U.S. won like 37 medals. They're
Yeah.
like, okay, well, you know what? Russia's this big superpower and they're doing, you know, they're pretty good at winning medals. And then 1984 rolled around and the USSR wasn't in the Olympics. And McDonald's was basically fucked.
Yes.
Because the U.S. Olympians won 83 gold medals instead of the 34 that they won the
Yes.
previous time. And basically had a lot of money. I mean, it's not a bad campaign, but it's another one that doesn't have a lot of foresight.
Yeah.
Where you think, okay, is this going to get people to buy more McDonald's? Maybe it did, but it also cost you more money.
Yeah.
It cost you probably more than they were expecting. Not that McDonald's is ever hurting for
cash,
but it's just one of those where, I mean, how do you predict? You know, I'm sure all the process of rolling this out was probably years in the making,
Yeah.
leading up to the LA Olympics, and then it was, oh, Russia's not going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-oh.
And if I remember this correctly from when I was a kid, they had sort of stacked the deck because they made a lot of because it was like a pull-off thing. You would pull off like on almost like the McDonald's Monopoly things now, where you pull it off and it would show you like what the event was that they had to win the medal in. And if I remember correctly, they had purposely made the vast majority of these events that the U.S. had traditionally not done very well in, because Russia had done very well in them. And then when Russia wasn't there, suddenly we're winning fencing gold medals, stuff like that, and that they never anticipated that the U.S. would win.
Yeah.
Oh, come on. Russian bear fighting?
Cossack dancing.
That's not even a sport. Wasn't there a Simpsons? Didn't Krusty wind up taking a bath
Yes.
on
Yeah.
something very similar?
Yes.
I do recall that was the one year where we went to McDonald's all the damn time. My parents never took us to McDonald's because it was just junk food we couldn't afford to eat.
Because you would win something, then you would go in, and on the free thing, there would be a pull-off thing, and then that would let you get something for free. It was just like this never-ending cycle of
fries.
Big Macs. Yeah.
It was the episode Lisa's First Word, and it was an Olympic promotion for Krusty Burger that was loosely based on a similar promotion by McDonald's.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. Manfredi, you're third.
All right, so I will go with my burger adjacent one. And while McDonald's in 1984 had the McDLT, which was a big hit for them. It did keep the hot side hot and the cool side cool.
Oh, yeah.
Which I still wish they'd have that to this day.
Yeah.
Because my hot side gets cold sometimes. So my cold side sometimes
Yeah.
gets hot. And Wendy's had Where's the Beef? The Where's the Beef lady.
Yeah.
Which was a big hit for them. I was really surprised to see that was in the Who's the Ad Wizard suggestion pile, because I think that was a major hit.
Well, I should say that I requested the craziest campaign that you
Sure.
can remember. So not necessarily failed.
Sure, that makes sense. And it is a campaign that probably on its face should have failed.
Yeah.
And who
Maybe,
knows why it did or didn't.
Yeah.
So Burger King decided to get in the act, and they conspired with J. Walter Thompson to come up with a $40 million ad campaign based around Where's Herb?
I was going to ask you. I thought his name was Steve or
No, it's
Dave.
Herb.
It's Herb, yeah.
Not Peaches and Herb.
Yeah,
just
not Peaches
Herb.
and Herb. You know there were many Peaches and only one Herb?
Really?
He had a new Peaches every 5 years.
He played around.
And Herb kept his job as a bailiff in the Pittsburgh criminal justice system his entire career
Really?
in music.
The Herb podcast
Yeah,
of record.
Herbcast.
Herbcast.
Okay, back to
Back to
Herb. Your
Where's
Herbcast.
Herb? So in the months leading up to the Super Bowl, they launched this campaign, and they came up with this whole backstory for this guy called Herb, who lived in Wisconsin. He he worked at a cheese factory.
Yeah.
Also sold duck decoys on the side, and he'd never had a Whopper.
Oh.
And if you saw him in a Burger King, and you said, "Hey, there's Herb," you would win $5,000. Part of the problem was they didn't actually introduce who the character, the image of the character, for like 2 months.
Oh, okay.
So nobody actually knew what he looked like. They just had this like vague description of this nerdy guy.
Okay.
Once they did, it was just like once they did launch who the person was, it was just like this nebbish looking square type. And he would just randomly show up at Burger King's, and if people saw him, they're supposed to go, "Look, there's Herb." And if he wasn't there, you just went up and said, "I'm not Herb," and you were supposed to get like a 99-cent Whopper.
Okay.
The problem is this whole "Where's Waldo" sort of thing has nothing to do with hamburgers. It has nothing to do with the product whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's no like "Where's the beef?" At least there was a connection there because they were trying to I think sell the fact that their beef was not frozen and it was a bigger patty and all that sort of stuff. There was like no connection to Burger King other than this random guy who happened to be at the store any one time. They had issues like one time an 11-year-old kid is the one who spotted Herb, and they decided not to give him the $5,000 because the rule said you had to be 18 or 16 and over to be able to win, but nobody read the rules because it was just something that was out there on a TV ad campaign. So this wound up becoming like a big, PR nightmare for them.
Once again, kids coming in to ruin all these advertising campaigns for people.
Yeah, they were
drinking poisoned soda cans.
Speaking of kids, I would venture to say that some of these failed ones that were discussed, recent ones, like maybe the Kylie Jenner, maybe the Bloomingdale's Christmas catalog, are a result of the fact that whenever I see an ad on LinkedIn for advertising lead, it's always intern, like this intern that is going to lead a campaign.
Right.
I always think that they're looking to that junior, not even junior, that summer intern to kind of lead that thing. This person with maybe limited life experience and maybe a smaller perspective than somebody who had traveled the world. But that's my rant on millennials, and I'll shut the fuck up now. Okay.
It was such a bad campaign that they wound up even spoofing it on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
They had Randy Quaid as Herb doing a press conference asking people to please stop bothering him.
Yeah.
He's ruining his life. Everywhere he goes, people are coming up to him.
Yeah.
Please stop. Which, of course, was the opposite of what was happening because nobody really gave a shit about it. And they wound up losing it. Their profits went down literally 50% that year, mainly based on the failure of this campaign.
Yeah.
J. Walter Thompson winds up getting fired. It's just a nightmare for everybody.
Yeah. I was a little bit fascinated with this campaign. It does this campaign that does kind of present a halo over Burger King in that they are joining hands with McDonald's to help support the McDonald's charity by not selling Whoppers. A day without a Whopper, the day we donated our guests to McDonald's charity.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah. I can kind of see how if you don't have any very graceful way if you don't have a really good charity lined up yourself, and you don't have a graceful way to take market share away from your competitor when they're doing something good, you got to join them, not lick them. Yeah.
You kind of just piggyback on them.
Yeah.
And you end up trying to get as much free publicity as you can.
Yeah.
I should point out, just to put a bow on this, at WrestleMania 2, Herb did wind up as a guest timekeeper. Along with Clara Peller.
Oh, wow.
They were both joint, and Ronald McDonald was not involved.
She's the Where's the Beef
lady.
She's
the Where's the Beef lady. So they wound up both working WrestleMania 2.
Holding hands, bringing communities together more than Kylie Jenner ever could.
Wow.
The burger wars were.
See, Vince McMahon, visionary. Yeah.
I love that Colonel Harlan Sanders is nowhere near. There's no...
Well, he was a Southern guy, so he would have been NWA Southern Territory at the time, WCW.
Okay, Winfield.
Okay. 96.3 FM in Glasgow, Scotland, launched a campaign.
Is that called The Frog?
I don't know what its actual... The Frog. Started a new radio station and launched a campaign with these stacks of empty racks around Glasgow. These racks, it said free air guitars. There was nothing in them.
Okay.
And I wanted to end on a high note of something that was silly and something that worked. and something that was just a big joke that everybody could get in on. And people would pass by these air guitar stacks,
Yeah.
these racks, pick up an air guitar,
Yeah.
and pretend to start playing. And they were all, these racks were all branded with the
radio
station
Yeah.
name, and just it kind of went viral, was picked up in magazines, and it was a very successful launch
Okay.
for their radio station. And what I liked about this was that it's sweet, it's innocent, it's another thing that's free, apparently.
Yeah.
And it didn't hurt anybody. It's not controversial. It's just a really, we say who are the ad wizards as it's always in a way that seems always negative. But what happens when most wizards out there are like brilliant people, if not kind of kooky.
Right.
Sometimes they do good. And this was, I think, was a good advertising that was very singular and very specialized for this very, a small radio station, but it's brilliant. It doesn't cost really anything other than
Well, you got to pay for
metal
the air
racks.
guitars.
You got to buy the air guitars. And what happens if they're stolen? It's free, so whatever.
Right.
But
Were they made in the USA? Or are they like the cheap ones that they kind of knock out overseas in a factory? Like,
well, you'd think they'd make
Scottish
them in
ones.
Scottish
Yeah.
ones. Maybe some lutes in there too.
Bagpipes.
yeah.
Yeah, for
Hey,
the bagpipes.
you know what? Apple should have had Bono autograph one of those air guitars. And give it to the Edge. Sorry, the Edge.
Well, they're Irish, so it wouldn't have been.
Oh, that's right.
So it would have been like Bell and Sebastian.
Yeah,
Would
yeah.
have gone around. Or
The Proclaimers.
Yeah, the Arab Strap
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah, or maybe like Teenage Fan. That's the only Scottish band.
I know,
think
it's
of. I'm
tough.
an
There's
idiot.
4 of them.
Yeah.
But I liked something that was that didn't hurt anybody.
Yeah.
That was just a nice, smart thing that was out in the world for a little bit.
Yeah. Adorable. Okay.
Bay City Rollers. That should
Yeah,
have been
Bay City Rollers.
That should have been the obvious Scottish band joke.
I'm an AC/DC fan, but they're more Aussie. They grew up in Australia. So
Exactly.
Yeah. Richard, bring it home.
All right. So it's not just multi-billion-dollar companies that can have crazy ad ideas that don't work out.
Oh, you're talking about the Mount Rushmore let's eat crappy candies on a Facebook Live?
Oh, yeah. I believe it was yogurts.
Yogurts.
And then it was Sideways.
Sorry.
Our door-to-door marketing campaign where we just knock on doors and say, listen to our podcast and play 7 minutes of it. It's not been working out.
Have you heard the good news about our podcast?
We didn't even say listen, just subscribe. You don't have to listen to it.
Exactly. We don't care if you listen. So Miracle Mattress in San Antonio.
Oh.
In September of whatever the hell year it was. It was a few years ago. It was September 2016. They decided to have a special promotion around a holiday. That holiday was 9/11.
Okay. There's a ding, ding, ding here because one of our discriminating viewers has also made that same suggestion. But you tell us about it.
Yeah, so basically, and it was one of those like very obviously local looking type of ads. You guys are all familiar with those. Those are like, it was a woman and then 2 sales associates, one each behind her, standing in front of 2 stacks of mattresses that resembled the Twin Towers. And she starts off by saying, as we commemorate 9/11, we thought what better way to do that than with a Twin Towers mattress sale. And she goes on to explain that basically if you buy one, it's like 50% off all twin mattresses or whatever the hell the deal was. And feigns knocking into the 2 sales guys who happen to be kind of brown and Middle Eastern looking, by the way, who then get knocked into the Twin Towers of mattresses, which then collapse to the ground. She feigns shock and goes, "Oh my God," and then looks at the camera and goes, "We'll never forget."
Wow.
That's the entire ad campaign. Needless to say, that did not go over very well with the general public.
Yeah.
They wound up having to actually close the store for about a week over 9/11 because they just the owner basically was like, "We can't. This is the only way we can.
Yeah.
We can't be open anymore." Obviously, this was something where you would imagine that one of the employees was also in charge of making the ads, and the owner never really. Just didn't pay any attention to what was going out because they were probably just your basic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's President's Day sale.
Mm-hmm.
They decided to get creative.
Yeah.
Didn't work out. And I included this because there is a we really could have done a whole episode just on advertisers attempting to capitalize on 9/11.
Yeah.
Or trying to do something that shows their sympathies on 9/11, but in a way that was really crass and tacky.
Yeah.
Or using 9/11, like the World Wildlife Fund had an ad that showed a plane starting to, like an animation of a plane starting to head towards the Twin Towers. And it says something like, 9/11, 3,000, 2,500 people were killed is one of the greatest tragedies in U.S. history. And then they show like 100 planes coming in. And it says the tsunami killed 100 times that many people.
Oh, God.
Yeah. So there was just this, for whatever reason, even years after 9/11, organizations, companies, businesses felt the need just to try and like they had to say something about 9/11.
Yeah.
Just stay out of the way.
Yeah.
It's really easy to do. Just don't say anything.
You don't need like Snoopy offering his condolences 20 years later.
Yeah.
With his
9/11.
MetLife.
With MetLife, never forget. Snoopy's there, or the Red Baron, even worse.
It sounds like to me that they are capitalizing on the fact that you can run for president and people don't remember who you really are.
Right.
They're like that the short attention or short memory of the public is going to remember the name of this thing and not associate with controversy later on. So the fact that somebody's talking about you is the best thing that company can do.
Right.
When it's just answering to a profit and loss statement for its shareholders from quarter to quarter, the best thing they can do is be something, whether it be controversial or not.
Yeah, and especially this, I think it gets especially bad whenever you're a small local company.
Yeah.
That probably feels like, well, it's just a local advertisement.
Yeah.
Nobody's really going to notice.
Yeah.
When you're making a 9/11 mattress sale,
Yeah.
people are going to notice.
People are going to notice that. Okay, all right. So I think that's it. Am I right? That's it.
Yep.
Okay. Wow. We could not end this episode without going out and. I wanted to say Rosie Rose suggested, brilliant actress, wonderful woman from Minneapolis, and maybe she's out in LA too. Rosie Rose suggested the twin price mattress sale commercial.
Yeah, same one.
And she also was one of the individuals who suggested the diet supplement commercial for AYD apostrophe S, the AIDS weight loss plan. And she also commented, hindsight is 2020 though, so that's something that we in the 2000s look back and go, ooh. Alex Gradette.
I mean, by the way, the gonorrhea diet supplement was a bad idea from the beginning.
Yeah.
We can all agree on that.
Yeah, that's right. The chlamydia weight gaining shake was bad. Our buddy Alex Gradette was kind of hilarious, and the first responder is always not that he's an EMT. He was the first responder to this crowdsource. I mean, Pace Picante sauce ads ended with a lynching joke for years, and we were all like, "Cool," which was a very kind of a funny thing. Mars Richards, Crest toothpaste, Mom's Gonna Kill You. I don't remember that. Does anybody remember that?
I vaguely remember it.
Okay. Matthew Reese, there's a PSA back in the day reminding people not to leave their pets in cars. The tagline was, hot enough to fry an egg, hot enough to fry your dog's brains. Eggs have been used in PSAs for a long time. Van Savage, where's the beef? Fun suggestions from many people. Leslie Gauger, Vern Funk commercials in Seattle. So that brings up the fact there's a lot of local, like that mattress, local commercials.
Vern Funk, is that any relation to the Know What I Mean, Vern?
I don't think so.
Is that Jim
I don't
Varney?
think the Jim Varney. Let's see. You Bet Your Sweet Asper Cream, Alyssa Rowinski. Right? I remember that vaguely. And our buddy Ken Stewart brought up the fact that somebody on this podcast was part of a local commercial campaign in Lawrence, Kansas, in which they had the actors speak French instead of English to try to advertise men's suits. And unfortunately, the actors didn't ever take a minute worth of French, and so were horrible and were teased by children on the street, actually, as I recall.
And we're not going to say which person it was.
No. Emily Jabas brought up the Wilton's coffee commercials, which were early Jim Henson works.
Oh,
Jim
sure,
Henson was
right,
up.
yeah.
And they usually ended in some kind of explosion or
death or something, some sort of...
puppet on puppet crime. Viking Chevrolet in Minneapolis was suggested by good buddy Tom Winter. Kelly Weinstein, our pal Corn Nuts Bust a Nut campaign.
Oh, that's a good one.
Is it? Yeah.
Well, it's a good one from the standpoint that I honestly can't believe how that got through the FCC.
Yeah, that is very funny. So those are some great suggestions. Now I'm going to pick at random. Oh, Kmart's Ship My Pants commercial. Jody Bowman Eskenazi has suggested that.
That's not real.
That's
not real, by the way.
That was an online. I thought that was a legit Kmart online thing.
I refuse to believe that's
okay.
real.
Well,
I just refuse to believe it.
Richard's believing he's got his own truth.
Yep.
Google is filling it in as I type SHI and K. Yep.
Yeah.
Kmart Ship My Pants.
Oh, boy.
Okay, so wait a second.
Well, that's why Kmart is at the top of the retail food chain at this point.
That's why last night I was out at a Kmart at 9:00 at night with my friend, and they were selling racks for $75
because the store was closing.
Yeah.
Wow.
And they had signs up that said, "This is all because of the Ship My Pants promotion." Are you happy now?
Are you happy
as they're
now,
ushering
you?
us out of the store.
Okay, so dudes, thanks so much for your great suggestions. Now I'm going to randomly pick things, and it's going to disappoint one of you probably. So because there was nostalgia in each one of these, I'm going to pick the burger ones. So I'm going to pick the Where's Herb from Richard, and the McDonald's Olympic campaign from Michael. And I think Richard gets a ding, ding, ding on the 9/11 one because
there's a match.
We have matched up.
It was like the match game.
8 points for that one.
Yeah.
I matched with Fanny Flag.
That's
or
right,
whatever her name was.
Rosie Rose. Then, because I'd never heard of it before, and Coca-Cola is like a huge product, and I like to think of myself as a history, at least popular culture person, the Coke Magic Cans thing.
Yeah.
And you know what? Just because it pissed me off.
That was 4.
Oh, that's 4?
Yep.
Then screw you guys. I'm not going to give out anymore. You know what I'm going to advertise? Next week's episode, our Halloween episode, our spooktacular.
Chain noises rattling.
Local radio guy trying to do Bela Lugosi.
Frankenstein's monster groaning.
There's
There's Frankenstein's dog, Snoopy.
The spooktacular, the Mount Rushmore of Death is next week, and not in a morbid, sad way.
In
but
a fun way.
Fun
Fun death.
way.
Yes.
All the fun of death.
Death in parentheses, not personal.
No. So thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Mount Rushmore of Who's the Ad Wizard? Who came up with this one? As always, I'm Jeff.
I'm Richard.
I'm Michael.